Hey y'all, it's your girl Jasmeen, the owner of House of Chiron, Astrology and Reiki, and I make the language of astrology digestible for all of y'all. So welcome to the month of November, Galactic Gossip, and we are going to be diving into all of the energy that is going to be happening for this month. Okay, so November looks like it's going to be bringing in the powerful, transformative series of astrology events like none other. And I know I've probably been saying that all year long, but it doesn't stop. The transformation does not stop, okay? So some things just kind of like in summary of what we will be discussing is, of course, the Scorpio New Moon that happens on the 1st of November. So by the time that you are getting this, you're probably already under the influence of that Scorpio New Moon. So we're going to briefly discuss that because there will be also an additional video coming out. So with that being said, we're just going to dive right on in because we have a lot to cover. Okay, I have my notes here and I'll be talking to you all and going back and forth, making sure that I don't miss anything, all right? So now, like I mentioned before, we have this Scorpio New Moon that happens on November 1st. And so it's happening at 9 degrees, and the 9th degree represents the completion of something, like the wrapping up of an event or a cycle, okay? And so not to mention it's in Scorpio. Scorpio is about secrets and, you know, things that are toxic and also just kind of like the intimate, deep psyche of things, okay? And so this is going to be a time of like renewal and transformation because even though it's a new moon, it's in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio kind of gets that intense energy and it can represent a little bit like of some endings that could be happening. But also with the new moon, it's still about setting new intentions. So what intentions are we setting with this new moon? Things that are pertaining to rebirth, things that are about our emotional depth, things that are about hidden truths, things that are about our resources and finances and just intimacy in general, okay? And so when a new moon occurs in a water sign, it's really inviting us to confront the darker, more mysterious aspects of ourselves, right? Just really go deep within. And being that this is happening in the sign of Scorpio, the shadow work is at an all-time high right now, okay? So setting new intentions that are focusing on transformation, that's focusing on healing, that's focusing on personal empowerment. And when you think about this new moon, it's ruled by both Mars and Pluto, which are really intense planets, okay? And so we might be feeling really like a lot of the intensity coming around this time. And so keep in mind with Mars influence on this moon, it's also kind of giving us that energy of paving a way, creating a pathway to not only a new beginning, but also like the profound growth that has happened, but also like that is like the things that we've done behind the scenes that now we can kind of like show what's been happening in the forefront. So ultimately, this new moon is going to be a lot about power and renewal and empowerment and just kind of like taking the lead in essence of who it is that you desire to be on a more psychological and intimate level. Okay, so something to consider. This new moon is making an aspect to Saturn that's in Pisces, right? So it's trining Saturn in Pisces. And this is a very supportive aspect. So whatever intentions that we are setting with this new moon, Saturn is here to help us ground those things in practicality and ground it in something that is stable. So this is a very stable and grounding energy that's associated with this intense new moon. So it's a harmonious aspect, right? That's what trines are. And it kind of brings the intensity down just a little bit because it's like, okay, I see that this is like an intense emotional thing or it's just an intense situation, but you can kind of understand the practicality of the logic behind it, okay? And so Saturn, it's the planet of structure. It's the planet of discipline, long-term commitments. And it also kind of like ensures new beginnings that are rooted in those things, right? Discipline and responsibility. And so anything that's initiated during this time will have lasting effects. That's what this is telling us. So between, you know, the first of the month, I would say the first 15 days of the month, anything that you are setting intentions towards will have a long lasting outcome, right? Later on down the road. Okay, so we can see like with the new moons, the things that we are setting intentions for, they pan out, you know, over the next 6 months, and we can see the manifestation or the culmination of that energy at the Scorpio full moon that will happen during Taurus season. Okay, so that's like, you know, April, May time, okay, 2025. So Saturn's present is really going to be providing us emotional depth with the Scorpio energy, but a grounding and understanding, kind of discipline, responsible energy to the emotions that could be coming up, right? So very solid and enduring kind of vibes. All right, so some things to kind of consider is, you know, deep emotional transformation, long-lasting foundations could be built during this time. You know, resources, finances, intimacy, debts, karmic, you know, generational family things could be coming up during this time. And just even more so, spiritual alignment could be very much so on the forefront, okay? Now, moving on to the next energy, we have Mercury entering into Sagittarius on the 2nd of November, where it will remain until January 8th of 2025. And that is because it stations retrograde at the end of the month, okay? So when Mercury enters into Sagittarius, it's going to be bringing us this expansive kind of adventurous energy to how we think and how we speak and our plans and how we see the world, right? Because Mercury is all about like the perception and the cognitive things, how things work on a mental level. So Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's known for its adventure. It's known for its enthusiasm and its optimism and wanting to go fly and go to different countries and just always be on trips, right? The Sagittarius energy. It's about freedom, right? It's about just wanting to roam and be free and learn through experience. That is definitely Sagittarius energy. And so when we have Mercury, which is the planet of information and how you relate and how you understand things and communication, right? It's moving into this sign. We're going to be looking and seeking things that's going to stimulate us on a mental level that allows us to be free, that's going to help us learn new philosophies, new belief systems, you know, and kind of like embrace those things and significantly influence us to kind of like stay, you know, in this exalted kind of vibe, right? So keep that in mind. From November to early January, Mercury will be transiting Sagittarius. So it's going to be really fostering this forward thinking attitude and expression in how we do things. So also there's, you know, that little challenge, right? Mercury and Sagittarius. So something that you can kind of take into with Mercury and Sagittarius, it can kind of come across as convoluted if it doesn't stay grounded in something, right? So when you are speaking or when you are trying to explain yourself or, you know, understand something or however, it can come across as convoluted. And that's the best way I can say it. When Mercury stations to go retrograde, we might experience these things because sometimes we can get the higher picture of a situation when we are experiencing Mercury and Sagittarius. It's about the broader perspective, but we forget the details. So we kind of like gloss over it because we're so busy focused on the adventure. We're so busy focused on, you know, the expansion of something or just looking at things from a very optimistic point of view. And then we kind of like gloss over the minor details. So just kind of keep that in mind, that convoluted energy can be that because you might not know enough of the details in order to see something clearly, right? You know, it's the difference between the Gemini, Virgo energy and the Sagittarius energy when it's in Mercury, right? Or when Mercury's in those signs. So keep in mind, it stations retrograde at the end of November. And so, you know, it'll be there from November 25th until December 15th. That's when the retrograde will happen. So this is going to be a time of us for us to slow down, reflect, and revise and revisit things, but also things could come back up to the surface. So things might resurface, requiring the reevaluation and the correction, because once it first goes through Sagittarius and it's moving direct, it moves quickly, right? It's a fire sign, so it wants things to be done quickly. And, you know, Sagittarius is a very mutable energy. So it kind of like always wants to change and always wants to go with the flow, right? But also you can flow yourself into like mistakes. So, or you could flow yourself into overlooking certain things. And that's what this retrograde is going to show us. It's like, hey, review your beliefs, review your ideologies, review your philosophies, review this thing that you have. And, you know, we might have to kind of like reassess some things on a cognitive level when we are going through the retrograde phase, okay? So keep that in mind. Things might resurface, requiring reevaluation as well as correction. And so just reflect, revise, and revisit whatever is coming up during that time. Now, also keep in mind that during this time that Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius, is going to be making a square to Saturn a total of 3 times. So the key energy with this is that on November 12th, while Mercury is moving direct through Sagittarius, it will make a square to Saturn that's in Pisces. It will also do the same on December 6th and at the end of December while it's retrograde. Okay. And so these things are going to be really kind of like bringing obstacles and delays, right? Because Saturn has the ability to hold things up. So it's going to be slowing us down so we can pay attention to the things that we need correction, right? Making sure that we are embracing our true beliefs, our true thought processes, our true philosophies of things, right? Sagittarius, what adventures do you want to endure or encounter more so? And then also keep in mind, you know, the Jupiter energy. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. And so Jupiter is currently in Gemini. And that energy is also kind of playing a role here where it's like expanding on what we know and education and experience and, you know, perception, so to speak, of what we see out here in the world and how we communicate that. And when we have these squares to Saturn, Saturn is going to be providing us that slowdown that's going to have us like rethink and reassess. Is this truly what we want? Is this truly what we want, right? For our lives, for our people, for our future. And just making sure that our message is really getting across, right? Excuse me. So when Mercury enters, when Mercury is squaring Saturn towards the beginning part of December, this is going to be another time where previous issues could be coming up, you know, because we rushed through something. And so fix it, right? Reassess it, pay attention to it. And it could be very like aggravating, right? It's like, oh my God, this thing is like, hurry up and wait, because that's the energy of, you know, Mercury being in Sagittarius is like, hurry up and do something, hurry up and plan, hurry up and go. But then Saturn squaring it's like, well, you can't go because you got to finish this first. You skipped this or you made a mistake. You can't do that thing just yet, right? So keep that in mind. All right. So moving on, we have Mars entering into Leo, and this happens on November 4th until January 6th. Okay, so with Mars entering into Leo, it's also going to be stationed in retrograde. So when Mars enters, it's bringing like this intense surge of energy. And that's like ambition and assertiveness that are accompanied with this. But also keep in mind, Mars is the planet of action and drive and desire and, you know, aggression and all these other things. But it's amplifying these qualities, right? When it's in the sign of Leo, because Leo is about expression, it's bold, it's fiery, just like Mars, right? So it's a wild dynamic that's going to be happening. And then also it's going to be making a significant opposition to Pluto that's in Capricorn, right? So this is going to be happening from November 3rd into November 5th, where this opposition is happening between Mars and Pluto. So it might be very like explosive, chaotic kind of vibes going on for these couple of days, right? The very beginning part of November. And you might feel like a very volatile energy. It might be a lot of power struggles that are coming up during this time. Maybe even confrontations and clashes of the will, so to speak, right? Because that's what Mars is. And then, you know, Pluto is about empowerment, and those power struggles could really be coming up to the surface. Okay, so Mars in Cancer is right now. So this, and it's really showing us a time that represents emotional defensiveness, but also emotional action. So taking action on your emotions. And so while Pluto was in Capricorn, it was making that opposition. So we were feeling it just on a different level. Okay, now it's moving into, you know, Mars moving into Leo, and it's also still in that shadow phase, because Mars will be stationing to go retrograde also. So it's kind of like telling us, like, making sure that our ambitions and the things that we are actually passionate about are they align to our values. They align with who it is that we truly are. You know, our identities, with Mars being in Leo, you know, making sure that, you know, what we act on, and maybe we need to take a stand on something, take action on something, and that it needs to symbolize something that is courageous, or we need to be courageous, or taking a stand on something to be in a position of leadership, you know, or even our personal pride, right? Whatever those things are. Mars in Leo is really going to drive us to take charge and pursue our desires without fear. So very fearlessly, and just taking a stand and standing up for ourselves. So, you know, Mars will be retrograde in Leo from December 5th until, I don't know what day. I think I can't remember what day it ends. Either way, it'll be retrograde as of December 5th. So with Mars being retrograde, that transit is going to be really significant, because we might have like an ebb and flow of our energy, where one moment we are full of energy, we have an understanding of what we're about to do. But then when Mars stations retrograde, it's going to have us reassess our ambitions, reassess our energy level, what we put in our energy to, right? What are we really giving our energy to? And making sure that what we are giving energy to is going to create something that is in alignment with who it is that we are, right? Our core expression, our soul expression, and also being able to kind of like take on creative projects, and maybe even reassessing those creative projects, okay? So doing things with a more direct and more affirming way. So yeah, just keep that in mind also. And then when it is retrograde, it still will be making that opposition to Pluto. So just kind of, it will oppose it again right before it moves back into Cancer. And so that's going to happen sometime around December and into January. And so just avoid confrontation. That's what I would do. Like, choose your battles, right? You might not win the battle, but the ultimate goal is to win the entire war, right? So choose your battles wisely, so that way you may win the war. I would highly advise against starting any confrontations during this time, okay? Especially if you are very Mars or Plutonian ruled, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't start anything. Wait until the retrograde season is completely done before you initiate anything, and definitely before you start any fights. I wouldn't do it. Highly advise against it, because you might not necessarily win, okay? Especially, you know, depending on the intent, right? Intent is a big thing, whatever your intention is behind it, okay? So power struggles and conflict just might arise during this time, and then you might have to reassess what your ambitions are and how you want to step up in a position of leadership, okay? So moving on, we have Venus entering into Capricorn, and that happens on November 11th until December 7th. So for about 4 weeks, Venus will be bringing a more serious and pragmatic vibe to the scene, right? Making sure that the things that we approach that are more Venusian, like love and money and relationships and our personal values, are more grounded and stable and serious, right? So Venus is the planet of beauty and love and money and whatnot. So, you know, we might feel the weight of Capricorn's discipline on us, like making sure that, you know, it's, you know, because Capricorn's a very goal-oriented energy. And so making sure that what we are pursuing, first and foremost, is going to have lasting results, right? The things that we value, if it really matters to us the most. And, you know, making sure that there's an emphasis on long-term goals and stability, commitment, right? So if you start a relationship during this time, it's probably going to, you know, end in a long-term commitment. That's the ultimate, you know, end game of this, like long-term. If you start something that is financial based during this time, you might have a favorable outcome, right? That it creates like generational wealth or something along those lines. So just kind of keep that in mind. Venus in Capricorn is less concerned with the short-term pleasures and more so concerned with what is this going to be in the long term. That thing, okay? So there might be some challenging aspects, especially with the cardinal energy, Aries, Cancer, and Libra, because Venus is going to make a square to Mars. It's in Cancer at the time that it's entering in here. You know, kind of that energy will be there. And then let's see, Mars squaring that, Venus in Capricorn. So that's going to be a dynamic energy there. Let's see, Venus is also going to be squaring the nodes. Okay, so Venus will be, because the nodes are still in Aries and Libra. So when Venus is in Capricorn, it's going to be making a square to that energy. So just kind of keep in mind that you might have some challenges with achieving your goals or letting certain things go, right? Propelling us towards independence as well as self-assertion, right? That Aries energy. And you might have some issues with that, right? Releasing codependent tendencies and seeking more balance, right? The Libra energy, and letting those things go. And, you know, it has a lot to do with what you are codependent on when it comes to finances, relationships, and personal values, those things, okay? So you might feel torn between pursuing your own ambitions and maintaining harmony in your relationships, or, you know, your own ambitions, right? So there's that. Let's see. Then moving on, we have this full moon that happens in the sign of Taurus. So I'll also be having a video for the full moon in Taurus later on in the month, and I will go through all the energy for all 12 signs to let you know what this full moon in Taurus is bringing you. So the full moon in Taurus is happening on November 15th. And so, you know, it's nothing but peaceful, right? Typically a Taurus full moon is kind of peaceful and kind of grounded, and you just kind of want to laze about and eat good food and just chill, right? But no, not for everybody, not in this case, because it's going to be making an alignment with Algol, right? So this is a fixed star, and it's more known for its darker and volatile qualities and energy that it brings. So this is also in a conjunction with Uranus. So there could be some unexpected things that come up that, you know, brings some I don't know, volatile situations. I'm not sure. It just depends on how this is aspecting your individual chart. And we'll get into this in the reading where I go into detail for all 12 zodiac signs. So just look out for that video. But it's really going to be creating a dynamic or an atmosphere that is potential for dramatic changes. That's the best way I can put it, right? Revelations that could be coming up, maybe even some upheaval, some destruction. Things are going to be crumbling during this time. And, you know, think about Algol. Algol's influence with Gorgona Medusa, right? So Gorgona Medusa, that energy is there, as well as, you know, that's also another fixed star. And so it's often linked with themes of anger and revenge and destruction. And so that's associated with the Greek mythology of Medusa. So, you know, because, you know, if you know a little bit about the Greek mythology, you know, she was wronged and then she sought out vengeance and so on and so forth. So this full moon in Taurus is about that. The energy of Algol is bringing the intense emotions up to the surface. So anger, frustration, desire for justice, retribution, those things are going to be coming up to the surface. And so in astrology, the fixed star Algol represents... it's a challenging star, right? So it represents mass casualties, chaotic events, deep-seated anger that rises. And keep in mind, this is shortly after the election time. So, you know, just throwing it out there. You know, and it could be massive intensity that we all feel on a collective level. So anger and wrath. And then keep in mind this in the conjunction with Uranus. So there could be sudden changes or revelations that come. And Uranus is the planet of rebellion and innovation. So that could also be something that could be like a rebellion that's happening. Pluto is moving back into Aquarius after all. So keep that in mind. Now, also, we'll go into more about this, like the different changes in, you know, environmental events that could possibly happen when I go into the full video about this full moon. So make sure you look out for that. All right, so now moving on, we have Saturn as stationing direct on November 15th. So it's happening the same day as this full moon. It's stationing direct at 12 degrees Pisces. So we still have a little bit ways to go with Saturn being in the sign of Pisces. And so it will be moving direct from November 15th until July 13th of 2025. So while it's moving direct, you know, it's giving us more discipline, more structure, more responsibility. It's paying attention to if we are disciplined and whatnot, right? And there's going to be a progress, like progression kind of energy. So things that we have been putting effort and work into and kind of reviewing and reassessing as it's been retrograde, structures and discipline and whatnot, it's going to be providing the forward movement to those things. Okay. So the restrictions and the blockages that were present during the retrograde are going to start easing up, and we can move forward. We can have some progression. And so some things to kind of consider is that there's a release of restrictions. There's a collective kind of like sigh of relief, right? So it feels very heavy when Saturn is retrograde. And I'm sure y'all have felt that energy a lot lately over the last 5 or 6 months. And so it's putting like, you know, that's like the universe is putting brakes on all our plans and say, hey, review it before we put it out there. Review it before you try and build this structure or this thing or whatever. And, you know, so also kind of like reaping the benefits of the hard work that we have done. So Saturn is known for rewarding those who have put in the effort, right? So I always call it Big Daddy Saturn. It likes to put in the effort. It wants you to put in the effort. It will reward you lifelong gifts. It's not like Jupiter that rewards you something that can be here and gone in the next second. It's something that is lifelong, generational, right? So it values labor. I will say that, okay? So there's that. Now, moving on, we have Pluto re-entering into Aquarius. This happens on November 19th until March the 8th of 2043. So I have a video about this energy. And I did it when Pluto first moved into the sign of Aquarius. So if y'all want more of that information, that link, you can find that link somewhere around here or in the description box. Pluto being in Aquarius, I went through the historical factors. I went through future predictions and all the things. But just as a recap, this is the last time that Pluto will be entering into Aquarius in our lifetime, right? So we've been having this dance, this little do-si-do with Pluto going back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn since about what, 2022, 2023, something like that. So now it is finally moving and staying in the sign of Aquarius for the next 18, 19 years. So until 2043. So, you know, it's going to be here. This is going to be a lot of profound shifts when it comes to the collective energy on a global scale. The last time that it was here in the sign of Aquarius, we had a lot of revolutions, right? So I think the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, all these revolutions was happening when Pluto was in Aquarius the last time, back in like the 1700s. So, you know, Pluto in Capricorn has been there since 2008, and it's really dismantled our trust in traditional institutions and governments and corporations and authority figures, right? So I even will say like our ideology or trust in celebrity culture is crumbling because of Pluto being in Capricorn. Now, also, there's a possibility that we can see an increase in the monitor or the control of populations, right? So that might be something because Aquarius rules the community, rules the people, it rules the population, and Pluto is about destruction and reducing and, you know, detoxing things. So just kind of keep in mind that we might see that. Pluto scrutinizes these developments though. So there's likely to be public pushback if we do see or recognize these things coming out. Also, there's going to be transformation of social structures and communities. So the social systems, the communities, the collective is going to be changing. So it's like Pluto is power, Aquarius is the people, power to the people. So the people are going to have more input and more say-so and more power in how the community and how the collective is ran and how it goes. Right, so we might actually witness a rise of a decentralizing of systems, collaborative governance. That might be something. New forms of social organizations could come through and give more power to people. So keep that in mind. Also, scientific breakthroughs, technology innovations. We see that with the innovation of AI coming through. All of these things, shifts in the economy as well as the market. Aquarius is connected to the market and the economic system. So there might be innovation, decentralization of like cryptocurrency, blockchain. Those things might, you know, be in the forefront. So I have a video on this, like I said. If you want to know more about that, description box, or it might be linked here. I'm not sure. So just look for it. It's there. Now moving on, we have the sun entering into Sagittarius on November 21st. and it will be there until December 21st. So happy Sagittarius season to all of you Sagittarius people. Happy birthday, happy solar return. And you know, it's about expansion and philosophical exploration. So just kind of a focus on where we gonna go, what we gonna do, who are we, what do we believe, you know, that thing. Sagittarius season is also bringing Mars and Mercury retrograde. So keep that in mind. It's adding layers of introspection and slowing down, reassessing. And it's in fire energy. So, you know, our will, our power, our ambitions, those things. It's going to be more thoughtful and deliberate when we are approaching our goals and how we plan them out. Okay. So that's that. Like I said, Mercury will be stationed in retrograde shortly after. This is on November 25th until December 15th. And so this retrograde, it's like a big reset, right? Think, you know, about like setting your grand goals and pushing boundaries, but also kind of like slowing down to reassess those things, making sure that communication and misunderstandings are, you know, at bay, because you are practicing the pause to reassess before you respond. Okay. You know, respond rather than react. I always say that. Okay. Now, also keep in mind that we are reconsidering travel and education plans during this time. And it's like, here it is, Thanksgiving. Thought you was going to be traveling. It's during a retrograde. Y'all already know that during this time of the year, holiday season, there's always some type of delay or issue when it comes to traveling for the holidays. So just keep that in mind. Ain't no different than any other year. All right. Plan ahead, plan accordingly, review, revise, make sure that if you do plan on getting out of town somewhere, that you schedule that flight or you book that trip before the 25th. I mean, we're already in the shadow phase, so it still might be a little sketchy, but I'm just saying. That might be something. And then I think that is pretty much it for the rest of the month. But yeah, just know the retrograde challenges are going to be no different than any other, right? Just make sure that you are revising, reassessing, resting, relaxing, recharging, revamping, whatever. All the redo them, okay? So that is all that I have for the month of November. Like I said before, keep watch of the videos that are coming out. The November 1st, what is it? The new moon, Scorpio New Moon. Make sure you are looking for, is that right? Yeah, Scorpio New Moon. Make sure you're looking for that. Also keep watch for the Taurus full moon that's going to be coming out. Keep watch for that. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Oh, announcements. I do have announcements. So since it is November announcements. I will say we have new merch. I have the Astrology, hoodies and beanies, and we have a couple of new ebooks and workbooks that are out for sale. I also have added new services to the website. So we have synastry charts. If you and your partner wants to get a synastry chart reading, I have those available. I have solar return, lunar return. I have transit and progression charts available. So just go to the website, check out all the new services, all the new merch. Check out the new ebooks and whatnot, all the workbooks and things. Like, just, yeah, go and look. We've been working hard, okay? Me and my amazing director of marketing has been working hard, okay? We've been putting in that work because you gonna get this work, okay? So with that being said, go on to the website, description box below. Go ahead and book you a reading and also get you your merch and all the things. Keep watch for our Black Friday sale that is going to be coming out very soon. Yes, okay. So you can get all the things that you need at a discounted rate. So yeah, I look forward to seeing y'all very soon. So I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.